On September 15, 2025, as the first light crept over the horizon, Subic Bay awoke to an unfamiliar thunderous roar that shattered the usual calm of dawn. The gentle rhythm of the waves was suddenly overpowered by a deep, resonant sound echoing across the water. Fishermen and locals, startled from their routines, looked up in awe and apprehension as a massive, matte gray aircraft pierced the clouds, a United States Air Force C-17 Globemaster III. Its silhouette dominating the sky and casting a long shadow over the bay. Its size was staggering, a flying fortress designed for war and crisis, capable of carrying troops, vehicles, and supplies into the heart of any conflict. The aircraft's presence was both impressive and intimidating, a symbol of power and preparedness. The plane's landing gear groaned as it touched down on the old US Naval Air Station, engines thundering in reverse, sending vibrations through the ground and stirring memories of a different era. This was more than a landing, it was a message, echoing across the South China Sea and reverberating through the hearts of those who witnessed it. The arrival was deliberate, unmistakable, and impossible to ignore. Philippine and American military personnel watched, their faces tense, knowing this moment was months in the making. Every detail had been planned, every movement scrutinized, and now the world was watching too. The cargo doors stayed closed, fueling speculation and anxiety among the crowd. What was inside? Why now? The unanswered questions hung heavy in the humid morning air. For older Filipinos, it was a flashback to the days when Subic Bay bustled with American power, when the base was a hub of activity and a symbol of foreign influence, memories both nostalgic and bittersweet. For the young, it was a stark reminder of global tensions at their doorstep, a sign that the world's conflicts could once again touch their lives and shape their futures. The Gray Giant's arrival signaled the end of quiet days in Subic Bay, marking a turning point for the community. The familiar peace was replaced by uncertainty and anticipation. Whether it brought comfort or unease depended on who you asked. Some saw hope and protection, others saw disruption and the return of old fears. But one thing was clear. History had returned to the Philippines, and with it, a new chapter was about to unfold for Subic Bay and its people. The C-17's landing instantly went viral, cell phone videos flooded social media, and C-17 Subic Bay trended worldwide. Within minutes, millions had watched the footage, sparking a digital wildfire of speculation, memes, and heated commentary. The sight of the massive aircraft, touching down at Subic Bay, became a symbol, igniting conversations not just in the Philippines, but across the globe. In Manila, debates raged. Some saw hope and protection, others feared becoming pawns in a superpower standoff. Cafes buzzed with arguments, and news panels dissected every angle, from national security to sovereignty. The city's pulse quickened as people wondered what this arrival would mean for their future. Fishermen in Zambales, long harassed by Chinese vessels, saw the plane as a sign of hope. For them, the arrival was more than politics. It was a promise of safety, a chance to work without fear, and perhaps a turning point in their daily struggle at sea. Shopkeepers remembered the economic boom of the old US base days and hoped for prosperity's return. Memories of bustling markets and thriving businesses resurfaced, fueling dreams that the renewed presence might bring back jobs, customers, and a sense of stability to their community. In Washington, the Pentagon called it a routine logistical mission, downplaying the significance, but few believed it was just business as usual. Analysts and journalists pressed for more, sensing a deeper strategy at play. Meanwhile, allies like Japan and Australia openly welcomed the renewed partnership, seeing it as a vital step toward regional stability and a clear message to rivals. European leaders urged restraint, wary of escalating tensions. They called for dialogue and diplomacy, hoping to avoid a spiral into conflict that could threaten global trade and security. Southeast Asian governments stayed neutral in public, but many quietly welcomed a counterbalance to China. Behind closed doors, officials weighed the risks and rewards, knowing the region's balance of power was shifting. The landing was more than a military maneuver. It redrew political lines across the region. Alliances were tested, old rivalries reignited, and new partnerships quietly formed as nations recalibrated their strategies. For the Philippines, it was a gamble for security, a bold move that could bring protection, but also risk. The nation held its breath, uncertain of what would come next. For the world, it was a signal. The South China Sea was now the front line of great power rivalry. The eyes of the world turned to these waters, watching for the next move in a high-stakes game. The arrival of a single plane had changed the conversation, dominating headlines and sparking urgent debates from Washington to Beijing, from Tokyo to Canberra. The stakes had never been higher. In a world already on edge, the landing at Subic Bay was a reminder that history can pivot on a single moment, and everyone was watching to see what would happen next. Subic Bay is a strategic gem. Its deep, sheltered harbor opens directly into the South China Sea. From here, navies can project power across one of the world's most contested waterways. For nearly a century, Subic was a linchpin of US military might in Asia, especially during the Cold War. Its closure in the early 90s left a vacuum, but its value never faded. The bay became a commercial hub, but its runways and docks remained ready for military use. As tensions rose in the South China Sea, both Manila and Washington eyed Subic anew. The return of a US military plane was a full-circle moment, a symbol of renewed alliance. For the Philippines, it's a deterrent. For the US, a forward base. Subic's strategic logic is back at the forefront. The Gray Giant's landing wasn't just on concrete, it was a landing in history. The bay's destiny as a crossroads of power had reawakened. The world was watching. The South China Sea is a global artery. 1/3 of world trade flows through its waters. Any disruption here would send shockwaves through the global economy. Beneath the waves lie vast reserves of oil and gas, and the sea teems with fish that feed millions. Territorial disputes have turned these waters into a flashpoint. 6 governments claim overlapping islands and reefs, each citing history and law. Tensions have escalated from simmering disputes to open confrontations. The Philippines has a strong legal claim, backed by a 2016 Hague ruling, but lacks the power to enforce it. China rejects the ruling and asserts its presence with force. The result, a legal victory for Manila, but a strategic dilemma. Alliances have become more critical than ever. The South China Sea's future hangs in the balance. China's 9-dash line claims nearly the entire South China Sea, overlapping its neighbors' exclusive zones. Despite a Hague tribunal ruling against it, Beijing presses on, building artificial islands atop reefs in the Spratlys. These islands are now military fortresses. Runways, harbors, radar, and missiles bristle from the sand. China's strategy is clear project power, control the sea, and intimidate rivals. From these bases, China can monitor and disrupt all regional traffic. Smaller nations can't match this might. China uses gray zone tactics. Coast Guard and militia ships harass foreign vessels, block resupply missions, and chase away fishermen. By using law enforcement vessels instead of warships, China blurs the line between policing and aggression. The result is constant tension, eroding its neighbors' sovereignty. The South China Sea is now a chessboard of intimidation and uncertainty. China's island fortresses have changed the balance of power. The region's future is more uncertain than ever. The US-Philippines alliance, anchored by the historic 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, has weathered decades of political shifts, regional tensions, and global changes. Through the Cold War, the post-9/11 era, and the rise of new powers in Asia, this partnership has remained a cornerstone of security in the region. In recent years, Manila appeared to drift toward Beijing, seeking economic opportunities and improved relations. However, growing Chinese pressure in the South China Sea forced a strategic pivot back to Washington. As security concerns began to outweigh economic incentives, the alliance is now revitalized. Joint military exercises have grown in scale and complexity, and US forces have expanded access to key Philippine bases under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, deepening operational ties. The return of US military assets to Subic Bay, once a major American naval hub, is a direct result of this renewed commitment, signaling a new era of cooperation. Drills now focus on maritime security and coastal defense, sending a clear message to Beijing that the Philippines is not alone in defending its sovereignty and territorial waters. American and Filipino troops training side by side is a powerful deterrent, demonstrating unity and shared resolve in the face of external threats. The US has clarified its treaty commitment. Any armed attack on Philippine forces, aircraft, or vessels in the South China Sea will trigger a response under the Mutual Defense Treaty. The C-17's landing is a physical demonstration of this promise, showing that American support is not just diplomatic, but tangible and immediate. For China, the calculus has changed. Pressure on the Philippines now risks direct US involvement, raising the stakes in every encounter at sea. The alliance is no longer just words. It's action, with both nations demonstrating their commitment through visible, coordinated military operations. The stakes for both nations have never been higher, as the balance of power in the Asia-Pacific hangs in the balance, and every decision carries regional consequences. The region is watching closely, aware that the future of the US-Philippines alliance will shape the security landscape for years to come. The C-17's greatest weapon was its secrecy. The cargo ramp stayed closed. No troops, no aid, just questions. Was it surveillance gear, missile parts, or a test run? The ambiguity was intentional. This strategic ambiguity forced China to prepare for every possibility. Beijing couldn't know if new weapons or advanced drones had just arrived. The uncertainty itself was a deterrent. For the US and Philippines, the mission tested their ability to coordinate and operate together. It proved they could rapidly deploy assets to a strategic location. The event was more than symbolic. It was a rehearsal for future operations. The mystery fueled headlines and speculation, keeping China and the region guessing. Washington and Manila controlled the narrative, calling it routine if challenged. But the message was clear. The alliance was ready, and the region had changed. The C-17's arrival became a symbol of a new era. China's response was immediate and fierce. Beijing condemned the landing as a provocation, accusing the US of stoking conflict. The Chinese Foreign Ministry warned Manila against playing with fire. The People's Liberation Army launched snap drills near Philippine-claimed waters, flexing military muscle. Warships, Coast Guard, and militia swarmed the region, raising the risk of confrontation. Chinese state media fueled nationalist outrage, calling for a strong response. Economic threats followed. Talk of sanctions on Philippine exports. China's playbook: isolate Manila, pressure it to back down, and demonstrate overwhelming force. The message was unmistakable. The South China Sea is China's domain. Any challenge would be met with power. The region braced for escalation. The South China Sea is now a powder keg. Warships, Coast Guard, and aircraft crowd the waters. The risk of accident or miscalculation is dangerously high. A single mistake could trigger a crisis neither side wants. There are few reliable communication channels between frontline forces. Without clear protocols, misunderstandings can spiral out of control. The stakes are global. A conflict here would halt trade, trigger recession, and draw in other powers. The human and economic costs would be immense. Brinkmanship is a dangerous game. The urgent need is for restraint and dialogue. The US-Philippines alliance must defend law, but also seek communication with Beijing. China must realize that intimidation breeds resistance, not submission. The world's peace may depend on whether these powers can step back from the brink.